Question number 14. Table shows approximate rates of speech and information conveyed for 5 languages. A group of researchers working in Europe, Asia, and Oceania conducted a study to determine how quickly different Eurasian languages are typically spoken, in syllables per second, and how much information they can effectively convey in bits per second. They found that, although languages vary widely in the speed at which they are spoken, the amount of information languages can effectively convey tends to vary much less. Thus, they claim that 2 languages with very different spoken rates can nonetheless convey the same amount of information in a given amount of time. Which choice best describes data from the table that support the researchers' claim? A. Among the 5 languages in the table, Thai and Hungarian have the lowest rates of speech and the lowest rates of information conveyed. B. Vietnamese conveys information at approximately the same rate as Spanish, despite being spoken at a slower rate. C. Among the 5 languages in the table, the language that is spoken the fastest is also the language that conveys information the fastest. D. Serbian and Spanish are spoken at approximately the same rate, but Serbian conveys information faster than Spanish does.
So number 14, let's observe what's the data in the table. We have the Serbian, Spanish and Vietnamese language. Their rate of information conveyed bits per second is almost around 40, we can say 40 bits per second. Whereas the rate of speech, syllables, lowest rate of speech is Vietnamese and highest we can see is Spanish. So a group of researchers, they are working in Europe, Asia and Oceania, and they conducted a study to determine how quickly different Eurasian languages are typically spoken. Apart from that, how much information, bits per second and all that we have observed in the table already. What they claim after seeing this, they claim that 2 languages with very different spoken rates can nonetheless convey the same amount of information in the given amount of time. So which choice best describes data from the table to support the researchers' claim? So which should we choose? If you said B, well done. Choice B is the best answer because it provides the most direct support from the table for the claim that 2 languages can convey similar amounts of information even if they are spoken at different rates. The table shows the approximate rates at which 5 languages are spoken and the rates at which those 5 languages convey information. Vietnamese is spoken at around 5.3 syllables per second, whereas Spanish is spoken at around 7.7 syllables per second. But the 2 languages convey information at very similar rates. But you see their rate of information. For Spanish it is 42 and Vietnamese 42.5. Thus, the description of Vietnamese conveying information at around the same rate that Spanish does, despite being spoken more slowly, supports the claim in the text that languages can convey the same amount of information even if spoken at different rates. So, Vietnamese conveys same information at approximately the same rate as Spanish, despite being spoken at a slower rate. Choice A is incorrect because it isn't true that Thai and Hungarian have the lowest rates of speech of the 5 languages shown. So if you see Thai and Hungarian, the rate of speech syllables per second 4.7 and 5.9. Hungarian is spoken at around 5.9 syllables per second. This is faster than the Vietnamese, that is 5.3 syllables per second. So 5.9 is greater than 5.3. Additionally, even if this statement were true, the assertion that 2 languages, so among the 5 languages, Thai and Hungarian have the lowest rates of speech and the lowest rates of information conveyed. Assertion that 2 languages are spoken the slowest and convey information the slowest wouldn't support the claim that can convey the same amount of information even if they are spoken at different rates. So we need the one which will support the researcher's claim. This will not. Choice C is incorrect because it isn't true that the fastest spoken language, Spanish, at 7.7 syllables per second also conveys information the fastest. Spanish conveys information at 42 bits per second, which is slower than 42.5 bits per second. So 42 is less than 42.5. Additionally, even if this statement were true, the assertion, so over here among the 5 languages, the language that is spoken fastest is also the language that conveys information the fastest. Even if this statement were true, the assertion that the language spoken the fastest also conveys information the fastest has no bearing on the claim that languages can convey the same amount of information even if they are spoken at different rates. And choice D is incorrect because it isn't true that Serbian conveys information faster than Spanish does. According to the table, Serbian, let's see Serbian. Serbian is 39.1 bits per second, and that is slower than 42. Spanish is 42. So that is not true from the information given in the table. According to the table, Serbian conveys information at the rate of around 39.1 bits per second, which is slower than the 42 bits per second rate at which Spanish conveys information.